everyone, Professor K here. So in our last video, we took a look at different attributes about myself, my name, my age, my height, which I didn't tell you because you can always find that out by coming to class. And then we took a look at what some of those different types are. So we learned that in order to set a string type, you need to make sure that there are quotes around your value. And to set any other type, for a number, you're just going to put in a number, or you might use, for a Boolean, a true-false value, the keywords true or false. Or you might choose to use undefined or null as values as well. So why do we care so much about what type of data we're using in JavaScript, right? What the value is? Well, because the different types act in different ways when you try and modify them. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Here, we're going to go through a couple exercises, and I'm just going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. And you can follow along using this code pen. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to complete each of these exercises one at a time. So let's start with adding name to name here. We're going to add a new variable, and let's make it a const because that's our default. Const doubled name equals name plus name. And we can clear out the console for a moment here. So that means we're going to be adding a string plus a string. So what do you think that's going to look like? Let's find out. What's the value of console.log? What's the value of doubled name? Ashley Cloje, Ashley Cloje. Just like it looks like. Two strings just smashed right together. That's how strings behave when you try to add them. They just stick right to each other. In fact, there's no extra space, there's no nothing. It's literally just putting this plus this right on together. So next, let's try adding age to age. Pretty simple stuff here, right? We'll even do the exact same thing here. We can copy paste const doubled age equals age plus age. No need to rewrite this 1,000 times. Let's clear out our log and then change this and see what happens. 62. 31 plus 31 is 62. And our doubled name is Ashley plus Ashley. Nothing surprising there. Where things get interesting is where you try and mix and match the different data types. So what do you think would happen if you tried to add name to age? How should JavaScript handle that? It's a string, it's a bunch of letters, plus a number. How do you add that together? Well, let's find out. Const name plus age. I like naming my variables something nice and descriptive. And let's do name plus age and see exactly what happens. Console.log name plus age. And I'm just going to cut that for a moment. We're going to clear this out so it's nice and clean and run this. So what happens? Check this out. Ashley Cloje and then 31 stuck like smack like that right against the end. I'm like, okay, well this looks kind of familiar. What's happening here? Well, let's find out what the type of this is. Because this is interesting. What happens when you add a string plus a number? What type of stuff is it? So we can find out by just doing type of. And again, I'm just going to kind of clear this out to make this clearer. And then paste that in. All right, and you can see that it's now a string. Well, of course it's a string because what else is it supposed to do? You can't add letters to numbers, right? So what else would it do? It would just add it right to the string, and that means that it's going to stay a string. So whenever the computer runs into these kinds of like weird little situations, it tries to solve them for you. And this is called casting. It says, You've given me kind of like a weird situation here, and I'm just kind of gonna go with it and make my best guess, and now it's gonna be a string. And you're cool with that, right? So that's exactly what's happening here. It is saying, okay, well, based on what you're trying to do here, I see that you've got letters in the name, and I see you've got numbers in the age. You can't add letters and numbers, so I'm just gonna assume all of this is really supposed to be a string. And it will try and fix it for you like that. So that's the idea behind casting. You don't need to know much about casting, but if you ever take like a computer science class, they talk a lot about it. So I thought it was a pretty interesting thing to know about after I took my computer science class. All right, so if you were to do the same thing, if you were to add age plus name, the same thing would happen. We don't need to do that experiment. But what I am interested in, and I'm just going to do a little commenting out so it's easier to see what is going on here. A nice big multi-line comment, that's star and slash. That will comment out everything from where I start it to where I end it, just like CSS actually. So here I want to set age to a string, and I'm just doing this because I really want the console nice and clean. I'm tired of clearing it out. So let's say age equals 31. You can use single quotes or double quotes as strings. That's perfectly fine. Doesn't matter either way. Oh, you know what? And we didn't say what kind this should be, so let's make it a let because we're going to add to it. No console log because we haven't told anything to go to the console yet. And now we're going to try some shortcuts. So let's do some shortcuts that you might see out there are age plus plus. That is going to add 1 to age and assign it. That's the shortcut there. So let's see what this looks like. Console.log. And before we even do that, let's do this as a number first. I want to show you this as a number. Console log age. All right, so just so you can see what's going on, our age was 31 on line 23. On line 24, we said age plus plus. That means add 1 to age and assign it back to age. And now console.log age, that's 32. And if we were to do the type of age, we would find out that it's a number, just like you expect. Cool, cool, nothing fancy there. But let's change this to a string now. What's going to happen when we change it to a string? How's JavaScript going to handle that? Well, let's go ahead and find out. It figured it out anyway. So here, age was 31. It's a string. We use the plus plus operator. And JavaScript says, hey, you're only really allowed to use that with numbers. And if I look at your variable here, it looks a lot like a number. So I'm going to assume you really meant this to be a number, and it goes ahead and fixes it for you. Here it is, age, and now if you look at the type of age, it's changed from string to number. Weird, right? It was a string back here. We can even prove this by moving this statement up. So here, let's clear out the console. Just kind of prove it, right? Up here, it was a string. We added to it, now it's 32, and now it's a number. Casting, super weird. So JavaScript is going to do all this kind of stuff to fix little things for you, but the thing is that this works great if you are just adding 1. But let's say that in 2020, you've aged 10 years. So let's say age equals age plus 10. Let's see if that still works. Okay, so hold on, let me repeat that so you can see that. So in 2020, we've aged 10 years because I've aged a decade in the last couple months or so here. And I'm just gonna kind of prompt this to run again. Boy, what a pain in the butt. Okay, cut, no console. Perfect. Okay, paste it all back in. Let's see what happens. Oh, now it gets weird. So here, age was a string, 31. And we said it was a type of string. And now when we try to add age plus 10, add 10 years to my age, now it's literally concatenating, it's squishing together, snacking them right next to each other, these two strings, 31 and 10. That's because the way that you smash strings together is just like this. So JavaScript's all like, now all like, well, I don't really know what to do, so I guess I'll just stick with what you had before. So you can't count on casting to fix all your problems for you. It's really, really funky and weird and ineffective. And if you, it might work in some cases, but then in other cases it won't. So this is why it's so important to know right from the beginning, you know, don't go putting your numbers in quotes, because then you're going to get weird stuff like this. I'm not 3,110 years old, even if I feel like it right now. I'm only 31, right? So in order to get the right kinds of values here, we remove the quotes, it's a number, we get 41 as expected, and it's a number. So pay real attention to the way that you're writing your data types, because it's going to make a huge difference in what happens later on in your code. And as we start writing more complicated JavaScript, if you accidentally put something in quotes that doesn't belong in quotes, you're going to have a whole lot of fun debugging. So just keep those things in mind. So I hope this helps you understand why modifying data is so important and the type is so important in JavaScript, and also some of the different ways that you can add things together. Remembering that we can add both numbers and strings. When we add strings, we kind of like smash them together like this, and they just end up right next to each other, smack dab. If you want a space in between them, you just add a space, real simple. And then with numbers, you add them just like arithmetic. So just keep those things in mind. You can also subtract just like you would expect. So the same ideas here. If you did age, say, minus 10, I would be 21, right? That'd be pretty cool. I'd like to be 21 again. That was a fun age. Or you can also do, let's clear this out. You can do the age minus minus shortcut, and that will decrement by 1, right? Decrease by 1. No, it didn't. Oh, you know what? That's because I have this wrong. So you can't have the age equals age minus minus. It's like all kind of in one piece. That's why it's a shortcut, right? So with that, I hope that helps you understand data types and how you can modify them a little bit more. Up next, we're going to take a look at how to kind of tie all this together in a real quick hello world statement using our browser and kind of exploring what the console looks like in your web inspector. So I'll see you in just a moment.